So there was a professor, a history professor, who was asked a question about Islam in the West, and his opinion will shock you. Check it out.
You're not doomed yet, but in all of world history, there has never been a civilization that has so opened its doors to another civilization that is openly hostile to it. So this is unprecedented, what's happening. Your ancestors of Europe, and I describe it in my books because I write about history, fought tooth and nail to prevent Islam from entering and conquering Europe. Because that was one of the grand plans that went on for century after century from the east. The Turks were trying to enter Constantinople. They surrounded Vienna in 1683. And before that, the Muslims, I told you, went up into Tours in France in 732, 1,000 years later. This was an actual goal. And now Western Europe is saying, oh, none of that matters. It was a misunderstanding. Come on in. But they haven't changed. That mentality, and when I say they, that's obviously, I'm simplifying. The mentality that I've described is part of Islam. It's an Islamic concept. So the Islamic State, you're told, oh yeah, they have nothing to do with Islam. They've twisted it. No, they haven't. They are a representation of what Islam, the caliphs, the sultanates, the emirates, that's how they operated. The heads of Islam, the grand imams and the muftis said the same exact thing. Okay, so that is what it is. Again, it's not my point to arguing, oh, well, this particular migrant wants to conquer you. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's looking for a good life. I understand that, and that's what makes it complicated. But to just open your borders completely to that demographic, which has within it, not all of it, but within it, that kernel of animosity for Christians and so-called infidels and the imperative to conquer the world in the name of jihad for Allah, which they're the good guys, keep in mind. They never see themselves as the bad guys. This is one.
So this is something very brilliant that he's saying is even the jihadis, even the supposed like Islamic radicals, they see themselves as these holy warriors. They don't see themselves as these evil, terrorists that are doing terrible things. They see themselves as doing the word of God. So that's extremely scary when you have people that are using the righteous word of the Lord to, essentially carry out terrible and evil acts.
One of the issues with all conflicts, they're not bad guys. They're good guys in their minds. You're the bad guys because you're infidels and they're trying to bring the light of Islam to you. So that's another aspect of how moral or the morality that they feel. They're the good guys, okay, in doing this. Because look at you, Denmark and Europe, you're all dissipated drunks and profligates and there's no real. Yeah, I'm sharing with you their arguments because I read it and I hear it. So they're bringing to you goodness, okay? But before your ancestors, because I guess they had their own social order and their own goodness, and it was called Christianity, were able to fight it. But I guess in this current void of sort of this atheistic climate, anything goes, and who's to say they're wrong? Maybe they're right, etc., etc. And now you have what's happening. So it's a very unprecedented experience. A lot of people talk about the Roman Empire, this sort of thing happened, but it didn't, and we can get into that. It was actually, they were still cognizant of trying to maintain their own social, cultural mores, Rome. And it fell to the Goths and the Germanic peoples. And I'm just saying, some people use this analogy, but in this case, this is completely your doing. Not you, but it's Europe's doing. Okay, you're bringing a hostile force that's openly hostile, and lo and behold, when I look where Muslims are, I see chaos and violence and criminality and rape and grooming in England. Okay, that's what always happened under Islam. Okay, so is there a hope? I think so. I hope so in time, but it's so bad that it even had to get to this point. It's such an abnegation and betrayal of your own heritage, of these men and women who fought and died to preserve your way of life against.
I think he's talking about the radicals when he says Muslims. He should be saying jihadis, because you have to differentiate between radical Islam and Muslims. At the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that 75% of the Muslim population, maybe even 85%, are completely, peaceful, peacekeeping Muslims. And then there are the other 25 to 15% of radical Muslims. The problem is that there are a massive amount of Muslims in the world. So when he's talking about 15, 25%, that could end up being millions and millions of people. I will say, though, that, again, on this channel, we don't promote any hatred. So we've been banned by YouTube before, even though in reality, we're not looking to promote any hatred towards Muslims. It's completely against jihadi forces, people that are looking for violence and bloodshed.
An open, hostile force, and now they're being welcomed in, and why not? It's okay. So I guess so. It's a matter of time.
So where's the hope? Excuse me. So where's the hope? You say there is
the hope is to wake up, wake up and see what reality and what I'm talking about, and understand the history and the doctrine of Islam and what Islam is all about. Islam is unequivocally hostile.
So that last point again, I do think that there are certain phrases in the Quran that are hostile. I don't think that most Muslims are hostile. So again, he's warning Europe of an impending invasion or current invasion, and saying that Europe isn't waking up fast enough. For more, subscribe to Jewish Uncensored. If you want to help us make more of these videos, go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. Again, buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored.